Happy Halloween, Saturday morning. This is my premiere. We're going to talk about how I made this lovely Halloween sweater for you guys. And just a little bit of an update on my progress with Shima. I don't know, I'm a little biased, but they are an amazing team, amazing company. They are sponsors, but it doesn't matter. They're still great. I don't know how to explain it to you, but my experience with them has been amazing. So I'm just going to go through just some of the things that I've learned and some of the steps that it takes to make a pattern inside the software. The software is actually a few different softwares interconnected in order to create 3D simulations, knit simulations, weave simulations, you name it, hats and socks, and there's so many different types of products that can be made in this software and in all its connectivity. We're going to see a little bit about it. So right now I'm in the 3D part of the software, and they have all of these lovely poses for their avatars. You know, I like avatars, and I like poses in avatars. So I'm just going to pose this sweater again and just take you to the steps that I went through to make the little Halloween sweater, but also tell you guys that I have had a wonderful month of October. Wonderful. And I'm going to select another pose in the meantime. But I learned a lot this month. I started my business this month. I grew in my knowledge of 3D and challenged myself in order to, you know, get different certifications and certification in Shima 3D creation as well. And it's a challenge to my time, a challenge to my my creativity, and just allowing it to flow and not allowing anything to block my creativity. I've had a few blocks this month and I've had to learn how to get over it. But right now I'm creating a 12 gauge sweater. This is a sweater pattern that I did the specs for. I made it just a little bit looser than your normal sweater in a 12 gauge. You know, that's going to kind of be like a little bit of a flowy, lightweight sweater. And these are the steps. This is what the pattern layout looks like. You name your patterns and then you create your loop simulation. Without some of these steps, your loop simulation does not get created. So it's just creating basic knit simulation with the rib simulation at the bottom. So I'm just going to change the color because the sweater is purple. So I'm going to make sure that I have my rib trim selected as like a contrast. So let me just rename this because I did this already, just to make sure that I did not like make a fool out of myself doing the sweater, which a few practice sessions is okay. It's definitely okay, guys. So I've been practicing and I've been learning the software, and it is challenging because it's very different from the other 3D softwares that are more popular, like Clo 3D, Browseware, Optitex, TG 3D Studio. All of them are kind of different than this because you're creating knits. So knits is not like a regular cut and sew garment. So the technology behind the 3D software is a little more complex because the parts and the linking of the parts and all of the different things that put it all together are just a little bit different. So the 3D design is just going to fill in that repeat there with that selection. And this is my lovely Halloween sweater, guys, but we're not done yet. Now we got our loop simulation and now we got our print simulation, and we have to combine them together. So I'm not taking you through a step-by-step tutorial, but you can see that there are many steps in getting your pattern and your print and your knit and your rib and everything all together. So this is highly advanced software, but it's not, one of the things that I want you guys to know, that it's not out of your reach to learn it. It's not out of your reach to like get these things accomplished under your belt. I've been making friends who do Shima. I've been getting advice from people, you know, overseas in Bangladesh and in all the different countries, just talking about the software and its benefits. and how much people like to use it. And look at the outlook. Looks like a real 3D knit sweater, and that's one of the things that they are most popular for, is just having the realism of the knit. It's a 3D garment. It can be exported like in OBJ. It is a 3D garment. So you can integrate it into different 3D softwares, projects, whatever you have, which, you know, over the course of the next month, I will be doing some little animations, and I promise to get there soon, guys. But this is it. So this is the little Halloween sweater, looking like an actual knit sweater, and I hope you guys like it and enjoy your Halloween. And this next section of the video is actually going to be showing a little bit about how the patterns are made in Shima Seiki and simulated. So I'm not going to go through a simulation of an actual knit, but I'm going to show you the pattern making. I'm going to show you the pattern making. I'm going to show you that, you know, it is a little different, but you can get there. So if you're interested in the software, leave a comment. Someone will get you there, help you get there. So one of the things I want you to know is that making patterns is a little bit different. So we're going to open up a pattern. I'm going to modify it, and I'll be right back. All right, we're coming back. So this is the interface of the software, and I know I just said someone will get in contact with you, but just contact me if you're interested in the software, and I will help to introduce you to the team. And you know, hopefully you'll be able to explore some of the key benefits of the software. And if you want to integrate this into your business, you can go ahead and do that. One of the things I'm starting with here is a template. So now the template that they give you is key. It's vital in order for you to start to learn to create your own patterns, or start to just learn how to modify the patterns. So one of the things that I'm doing here is just modifying the pattern just a little bit, because this is a round yoke, but it's just a single piece yoke. So I'm going to turn this into a multi-level yoke. This is one of the tutorials that I went ahead and recorded for you guys. So as I'm going through this, I'm also you know, going through the experience. So what is it like? What is the sewing like for the garment? What are the patterns like? How does it all come together? So these are part of the discoveries that I'm making in the software. So just sharing with you, this is the pattern. So you've got your slash and spread for your yoke, and you can see that the pattern is kind of opposite from a slash and spread garment, where it was slashed from the bottom in order to give the fullness. So with this, they're slashing from the top because the peaks will be knit together at the top. So it will be a seamless knit piece. But guess what? I don't need this. I'm actually going to take this pattern piece out, but I'm just explaining to you the differences in cut and sew and knit. So this is a shape that's knit together, and it will come out like a they call it a parachute pattern piece. In the woven area, it's called like slash and spread. But right now, this is something that I'm just going to take the measurements from this piece of it. I'm going to take the measurements, and then I'm going to go ahead and split this into 3 pieces and sew them together. Guys, when I tell you, the tutorials are challenging, but as you can see, I'm doing it, and you can get there. It's just, you know, taking your time and understanding the basics first. So I will tell you that I have been doing the tutorials for a while now, and it requires concentration in order for you to learn something that's a little bit different from the other 3D softwares. But guess what? It's 3D, so the principles are primarily the same. You sew your garment together, all the pieces match up, and then you've got success. But if you don't sew it correctly, then it's not going to work. So I do make a boo-boo. No, that didn't sound right. I do make a mistake And I'm not going to show you that right now, but if you stick around to the end of the video, you will see the bloopers of my sewing. I like to say fiasco, but it's just a little glitch in my sewing way. One of the key things that I will say is that when you're sewing in Shima Seiki, you just have to be aware of where your seam lines are going. One of my biggest challenges is figuring out in the spider web of seam joins, like you saw a few minutes ago when I showed you the whole pattern and how it was sewn together. When you see the sewing lines, it is a little daunting because you kind of want to know where everything is lined up. But if you see the little circles on the side, those are points that are used to guide you through the shapes of the patterns and the parts of the pattern. So I don't want to say anything incorrectly, but those points are like vital to like label and use as guides. So you can turn them into notches. You can use them for different points and levels in your sewing if you have a specific type of garment. So one of the things that I've learned is that you have to delicately make sure that they're either together or separate so that you don't like overlap them, just like in regular, not regular, but just like in other 3D programs. Some of them you can overlap the sewing lines, and some of them you can flip the sewing lines where it might come out twisted. It's the same principle here. So it's not that it's such a different program other than a 3D, you know, a 3D sewing program for wovens. It is more intuitive to knit design. So points are very key in knit design because that's telling the computer where to stop and start the knit. So these things that you see here, these little circles, you have to imagine that they were your notches, or that they are your key points or your grade points. Also, if you want to do grading, this would be the equivalent to like your grade points, like your key points that's going to create the structure of your garment. So I'm just going through here and I'm going to sew for a little while, and I will be right back and I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on here. So now I've measured everything out, and I'm going to go ahead and make the square pieces that go with this, and then I will come right back to you. Alright guys, so you know that I have to give you my little musical interludes. So just like a regular pattern, once you've created your pieces for your left or your right side, you can then mirror them. So there's definitely a mirror function in the software, and I'm just going to mirror these pieces, and then I'm going to actually copy them front to back. So this piece here I don't need anymore because I use the measurements to create the same height distance and the same width distance for each panel. So now I'm going to go ahead and just delete these, and then I'm going to copy this, and you'll see in just one second how this starts to become a it's actually kind of making a panel yoke in from the shape of the yoke color. So guys, one of the things that I have to remember always is, you see that EXEC, I have to make sure that I click that when you want to finish something. That's one of the things that I noticed, that just from using the other softwares, I just think I can just go ahead and just sew and just move on to the next thing. But sometimes you still have a, see right now I have that eraser on, and I never took it off. So now you have to like click on your key functions at the top. I mean, it's really something that you have to learn. It's kind of like, you know, in Optitext, you have to know what your F4 button is going to do. So it's not something to take lightly in learning, but it's also something that will just challenge you. I mean, I was challenged as long as I've been doing 3D. I think it's been since I want to say 2013. I remember using Clo 3D when it was Clo 3. If that says anything, and you're on the 7th generation right now of the software, and that's been over the past few years. So being familiar with 3D, the concepts are easy enough to understand, but the functionality and the functions in the software definitely have a learning curve. So you just need to take your time and remember, anyone that knows me in real life knows that I always carry around index cards. So that's something that will help you. It's really like studying, you know, it's really like studying. You have to have your index cards, and you have to follow the tutorial and all that kind of stuff. But guys, 3D is the way. And I guarantee you this software is going to evolve. And I know that there are a lot of new things coming out in the industries and new functionalities, and I don't think the Shima Seiki team will lag behind. They will definitely move forward in some of the new enhancements in 3D software. So one of the things that you have to do is, now that you've created a new set of patterns, you have to name them. One of the things that happens in the 3D software is your pattern naming functions will tell the computer or the software where on the body it goes. So there are zones on the body, and if you see, there's some of the call outs are front body, back body, side body, front, back, cuff, sleeve, rib, hood. This is what would equate to your arrangement points in some of the other softwares. So you're not visibly placing things on arrangement points. You're actually naming them. You're naming the arrangement points, and you're telling the software where on the avatar it's going to go. So it automatically knows that, hey, if this is all on the front, and you'll see that I have to separate it because I'm just naming it front body, but everything will show up on the front, but the front, where it just says front, is actually going to be the front base. So the computer knows the difference between front body and front, and it, you know, it places it according to the label. So I thought that was really ingenious, that you can just go ahead and label your pieces. And this is part of pattern making, you know, 101. Label your pieces. I always tell you guys in Clo and in any other software to make sure that your pattern pieces are named. So this is definitely something that is, you know, part of the 3D world, and something that you just have to learn to do. And I'm going to just go ahead and speed this up just a little bit more for you guys so that you can see what's going on. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm going to give you a musical interlude and a like and subscribe. So just pay attention. Hold on. Okay guys, I ramped up the speed to the video, so we're already at 22 minutes. I'm trying to finish this for you real quick, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is sewing directions and sewing connections. One of the biggest things I had to learn is, like I talked to you a little bit earlier about the points that they use on the patterns. Sewing is a little bit, as you can see, it won't stop at the points unless you click it, and you have to click another button, and then you can do it. But once you get in the groove of it, it's really simple, guys. So it's just matching the lines and stopping where you want to stop. It's not color coded, so you do have to pay attention, very carefully to where you're starting and stopping. One of the things I was doing was clicking on the actual point, but you don't have to click on the point. You'll see that I just click on, off to the side, or just click anywhere close to the point, and that way it will automatically stop there. So that's something I had to learn, because I'm used to, the other 3D programs where you kind of have to follow the line in order to sew. So it's a little bit different. But I am having a good time and I like it. And make sure you stay to the end of the video so you can see me make a mistake. As you can see, some of my sewing lines right here are a little bit twisted. So I just go back and redo it and figure it out and work it out, and then I get it. And I make sure that I click on my my execute button. Yeah, that wasn't it either. But I got it now. I got it real quick. I'm like, no, this goes to this, goes to that, goes to this. So I was sewing basically the front to the back to the front on the collar, where I just could have left it alone because I think it was already the direction that I wanted it to be sewn in. But that's one of the things that happens when you're doing 3D and you're learning the program. You just make choices, and if it doesn't work out, just make sure you save your work and keep it moving. But now I got the collar. So this is really cool. I think the coolest part of the program for me is the fact that you can change the pattern, just like a regular pattern, but just knowing that the difference in sewing a knit garment and sewing a sewn garment, a woven garment. So one of the things that I noticed is that it brought back my recollection of knits, stopping and starting. It brought back my recollection of fully fashioning and what that actually means, and how things are linked together and knit together. When I was doing this, I kind of approached it in the beginning with a woven mindset, and not realizing that these are things coming through a knit machine and sewing through a knit machine. It's almost a little bit reverse, but the basic pattern things are the same. So the basic pattern shapes, the basic pattern knowledge, that if you have the ability to know how to, put a garment together, you'll get this in no time flat. But yeah, challenge accepted, Shima Seiki. Guys, I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit more for you, because my sewing is driving me crazy. The green lines actually drive me a little bit crazy. But like I said, you get used to it. And this, especially if this is part of your workflow, then you have no choice to basically get used to it and keep it moving, and get the garments done, whether you're doing it for work or whether you're doing it for clients, whatever it is. Once you get the hang of it, it really is intuitive and simple and fun. I mean, you guys have seen my Instagram. I am just making sweaters. So this is the simulation part, which I think everybody likes, because it's the ooh, ah, ooh, watch it all come together. And I'm just making sure that everything is aligned. And you're going to see my blooper at the end, and why I'm taking so many steps to make sure that this thing is aligned. Anyway, you could move it just like you would move it in other programs. But like I said, there's a little bit more control to placing things on the avatar. And there you go. So now you have the simulated version of this. I'm going to simulate it for you one more time. And you can see all of my connections. And like I said, you can see where the rib gets tightened at the bottom, that little highlighted line on the hemlines. That is actually the rib tension. The tutorials are great. They go over all of that with you so you can know how to adjust your rib tension. And that's it. And now we have my yoke sweater, which I'm going to make a jacquard pattern on that yoke. And I will put that on my Instagram in November because I got a few more days to get actually some more simulating done for Shima Seiki, and moving on from there. And that's it, guys. So next is my bloopers. If you stayed this long, then you get to see me make a mistake. My God.